Welcome back to the Friday Night 360 AZ preview show alongside Haley Stasiak. I'm Jordan Ham. We are now joined by Desert Edge head coach Jose Lucero. He faced off against Sal Point and Saguaro this year. Coach, thanks so much for joining us.
No, guys, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
So let's jump into this 4A state title game, specifically with Sal Point Catholic. You guys had them on the ropes. When you played them, they won 28-21. It was a very early season game for you guys. What was the game plan coming into that game in terms of just being able to contain them?
For us, the big thing obviously is trying to limit what Bijan Robinson can do. He's such a special talent. And so for us, what we were trying to do was we knew he was going to get his touches. We knew he was going to get his yards, but try to eliminate the big plays. And, they busted a big one early. I think he took the first play of the game to the house. But I thought we did an admirable job, trying to keep him contained for the most part of the game. And so that was kind of our mindset defensively, was just everybody, be gap sound and do your jobs and make sure you try to wrap up and tackle, because he's just such a talented kid. And offensively, we kind of shifted to a little bit different look that week, and I think we caught him off guard early, and we're able to move the ball effectively throughout the game. And it was a good football game down there, and they did a good job coming back against us, but it was definitely a good high school football game down there.
Looking at Saguaro, what is the most impressive thing about this SaberCat defense, and how difficult was it to match up against them?
The one thing is obviously they got, tremendous size and length. And you can kind of see that, those are they get off the bus, you can tell right away. But just their overall team speed, that their linebacking core especially was probably some of the fastest linebackers I've ever had the chance to coach against and see. And those kids really fly around, and you can tell right now they've kind of kicked it up to a whole different level, come playoff time, and they're flying around, and they're pretty tough defensively.
Coach, you're among one of the top coaches in 4A. There are two coaches going head-to-head this weekend that are pretty darn good as well, and Jason Mons and Dennis Benet. Just what similarities do you see between that group of coaches, the elite 4A coaches?
With Coach Benet and Coach Mons, the one thing you can see is obviously they're both consistent. They've been good for a while, and that comes from having a strong program from the bottom up. And the biggest thing you can tell from both their teams is they're well coached, they're disciplined, and then they're tough and they're physical. And those are things that kind of carry over year to year. And for both Sal Point and Saguaro, that's one thing they both kind of hang their hat on. Obviously, they both have tremendous players on both teams, but they're tough, physical, and disciplined teams, and I think that's where both coaches will probably tell you they spend a lot of their time and focus.
Obviously, Saguaro is going for their 6th straight 4A state championship this weekend. What is Sal Point going to have to do to top the SaberCats and get a state title?
I think the big thing for them is I think they got to kind of stick to their what they do best, and I think for them it's they have a couple of gifted athletes over there, and obviously Bijan Robinson's where it all kind of starts for them, and I think they got to be able to run the football and try to control the line of scrimmage, and I think Bijan's going to be a big part of that, and then defensively they just got to we kind of try to do is stay gap sound and do your job, and Saguaro's got a ton of athletes everywhere, and I think the biggest thing for them is just to focus on the little things and try to make sure that they're in the right positions to make plays.
Coach, we appreciate your insight on this game. Let's talk about your team real quick. You return a lot of talent. You have some key guys, specifically on that offensive side of the ball, returning for the coming years. Just what excites you about this Scorpion program as you head into the offseason?
We were very young this year, and we kind of took our lumps in certain spots, and but really excited about the future. We have 9 guys coming back offensively. 6 guys coming back defensively, from a team that made it to the semifinals. So we're excited about that. A lot of those kids now have a year of varsity football under their belt and, get a chance to go get in the weight room, come back, bigger, stronger, faster, more experienced. And, so we're looking forward to it. We're like where we're at. We feel like we got a good quarterback for the future moving forward in Adrian Lara. And, we know he's got some weapons and Jihad Marks and Andrew Patterson, Keith McCaney, some receivers. So we know offensively we're going to be set. And, defensively, we return a lot of our core. We return one of our defensive linemen, Isaiah Williams, was a freshman who played for us and played a high level, and our 2 inside linebackers come back, and then in the secondary, Steven Ortiz, one of our DBs, comes back and kind of be the leader of that group. So, we're just looking forward to getting back to work and kind of step our game up and and hopefully make another deep run in the playoffs next year and make a big push.
You mentioned Lara. It's not often that a freshman will come in and be the starter. Just how did you see him handle that as a freshman, and how did you see him grow as he got more games under his belt at the varsity level?
He did a great job taking it in stride. Again, I do want to tip my hat to our senior quarterback, Tyler Henry, kind of taking him under his wing. And, he handled the moments. It's never easy for a kid to come in as a freshman and play, but especially, like you said, at quarterback, that's a whole nother can of worms. And he did a great job just taking it day by day and continuing to improve. And you can really see his growth throughout the season as far as, reading coverages and anticipating receivers. And, by the time we got into the playoffs, I think his best 2 games were probably our first 2 rounds of the playoffs. He played real well. And, we're just excited about what he's going to bring to the table next year. And, this year was a great learning year for him. And now we're really looking for him to take off and be a good leader for us next year.
Coach, we appreciate the time. Have a great offseason.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
That was Jose Lucero, head coach of the Desert Edge Scorpions. A lot to be excited within his program over the coming years, but he gave some really, really good perspective on kind of what to anticipate with this game. And I think it kind of echoes what Coach Benet has told us, what Coach Mons has told us. There aren't going to be many surprises. These teams know each other well. They know what they do, and they just do it really, really well.
And I really like how we're doing this week. It's interesting to get that other perspective. I mean, we always ask coaches a lot of times what they see on the other side of the ball, what they're expecting, but to get this outside perspective, somebody who's faced these teams, obviously he talked about the size. When Saguaro steps off the bus, you just know that it's not going to be easy for you. Obviously, he mentioned South Point and Bijan Robinson being the ringleader there, but South Point's got other playmakers. Mario Padilla, who Coach Benet told us is the alpha of this team and the leader of this team, and then Lathan Ransom, who earlier we talked about how he didn't play in the 2017 game. He could be a game changer in this game. So It's interesting to see just you play these teams in the regular season, you're matching up against them in the playoffs, and it's a completely different way.
And there's another perspective here that I think is interesting. Saguaro's going down to Tucson. They've had Jason Mons has had plenty of success doing that. He's won state titles. That's where he proposed at Arizona Stadium. So he's had success there. But you also look at what Jose Lucero and the Scorpions were able to do. They had to go down there to South Point as well, and they kept that game to 7 points. And it looks like they had a shot to
that was one of South Point's closest games.
Yeah, it was. So that's why we wanted to have a coach like Coach Lucero on that has had some success against these teams, but also knows kind of the nuts and bolts of each of them. So what's your biggest takeaway in this game? What do you think it's going to come down to?
For me, it's really going to come down to seeing what South Point's offense can do against the Saguaro defense, because yes, that size and just their football IQ overall. I mean, Saguaro offensively and defensively just has a football IQ that is unmatched, and credit to the coaching staff for that and these kids who put in the work on the field and off the field to get better. I think that South Point's just really going to have to figure out how to wear the defense down, and that's what it's going to come down to for these teams.
This is going to be some game-changing insight. I think it's going to come down to turnovers, because both of these teams really take advantage of the short field really well. And you can see, those linebackers for Saguaro in coverage, they'll get a ton of interceptions. They'll provide some pressure on the quarterback, on the running back for South Point. But the same goes for South Point Catholic when you have, Lathan Ransom and the athletes that they have. And they have a really good front seven, so they don't necessarily need to blitz necessarily. They can have 5 or 6 guys go down and try to, cause some pressure for Tyler Beverett. So I think it's going to come down to, if there's a swing in the turnovers, I think that's just going to have a huge impact on the game.
Should we make our predictions for this one?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. What's yours?
I'm going to go, so I have a out-of-the-box prediction. Saguaro's going to win this one. I think South Point wins next year's 4A state championship. I think it's going to be a rematch next year.
We're already looking forward to 2019.
I got my binoculars on.
I have to agree with you there. I think Saguaro is going to take this one. I just think that the experience and the way this team has played over the last few seasons, these guys know how to get it done. So I'm going with Saguaro this year, but it's funny that you say that, because a few days ago I was kind of thinking about these games and I was like, you know what? I think South Point has everything there. I mean, Bijan Robinson can only get bigger in size, so who knows what he's going to be able to do when he's put on even more weight.
And that's the thing about these two teams. They're so good, and their seniors are really good, but the group is predominantly juniors on both teams. Sal Point, 9 of their top 10 tacklers are juniors.
Yeah.
So the defense is going to be back. Same goes for Saguaro. It seems like every year it's not a rebuild, it's a reload, where they just have different athletes coming in no matter who graduates. But the big chunk of both of these teams are sophomores and predominantly juniors. So that's why I kind of said this could be a back-to-back-to-back rematch for them in
Always
4A,
fun, though.
And in that case, I'll take Sal Point. That's my bold prediction.
We need to write this down, make sure we remember this
Right.
for, a year from now?
It's on the internet.
Lots going to happen.
It's permanent. It's great. So good stuff on the 4A, and we're going to preview the 5A game coming up next with Lamar Early, the Millennium head coach. He faced off against Notre Dame in the postseason and Centennial in the regular season, so he's going to give his perspective on this one. That's coming up next on the Friday Night 360 AZ Preview Show.